What? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. Week 15, we are here. If you made it this far, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a high five, right? You're in the fantasy football playoffs. A select few make it this far. So, congratulations to you, and you know who you are. And if you're not in the playoffs and you're still listening, you're like the best fans we can ever think of. So thank you very much for just coming along with us. This is fantastic. And if you just want to listen to unnecessary fantasy football banter, hey, you come to the right place. But we got a fantastic episode for you. My God, we're kicking off the fantasy football players. This is the most exciting time of the year. Whew, we got a fantastic episode for you, like we always do. But before we jump into that, we ask you please to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, for your weekly fantasy football breakdowns. Not too many weeks left, but you understand. Send us your waiver questions because that's still very important. Send us your sit-start questions, especially this week where it's do or die. For those of you who don't have a bye going into this week and your week 15, this is it, man, or ladies, or other genders. This is it. This is what we waited for all year long. And you know what? We don't even have an opening drive this week because we don't need one. We're not gonna sugarcoat this episode. We're not gonna give you any fluff. We're not gonna put some fillers in there. We're gonna go right into the meat and potatoes of this episode. We're gonna jump right into your love-hate picks. We're gonna get the ball rolling right now. All I can tell you before we begin, please don't pick up Phillip Rivers. God bless him for being a grandpa and starting in the NFL, but still, just there's certain things that need to be left on the side and just an FYI. But before we jump into that, before we get going, guys, I'm Fab. We got Roger on the horn. We got Knack as well with that little stash. We're ready to rock and roll over here. Let's get going. We're gonna kick this off right away with our love hate picks. Knack, go for it. Let's do it.
Thank you, Fab. And for honestly, even Colts fans, I hope to God he does not play a snap in the NFL. He also gets in week 18 if he starts by then the Houston Texans. So that's just not going to go well. He's got a
Seattle this
family.
week, no?
Seattle this week.
Well, he's not gonna start this week.
Obviously,
There's
yeah.
no
No.
chance he starts this week. I can't see a scenario where that happens. And if he does, well, Fab, I'm very sorry, but I have Seattle D. Let's get things started with the love hate, guys. Before we do start off the week 15 love hate, let's just rewind and to week 14 and see how we did as a collective, as Mike Tomlin likes to say. Fab, you were the big winner this week, 4-1 record. Hit on all your loves, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, and Mason Taylor, as well as your hate of Tua Tagovailoa, but missed out on your hate of Caleb Williams. Raj, you went 2-2, missed on Jaden Higgins, hit on Jacoby Myers, as Loves missed out on Zay Flowers' hate, and did hit on the Oronde Gadsden hate, and Romo Dudesay unfortunately didn't play for the game, so that's par for the course. And I ended up also hitting on all my loves, Devin Neal, Jordan Mason, and Isaiah Likely, and missing out on both my hates in Woody Marks and Travis Etienne. Our record this week, boys, was 9-5.
There you go.
Well
Let's
done.
go.
Brings our collective record to 97, 104, and 2. So still some time left to get those numbers back in the positive. So without further ado, let's crank it up. Week 15 love-hate time is here. Raj will lead things off by breaking down the quarterbacks you should be trusting and the ones you should be launching into the sun. Fab will follow up with the running backs and I will bring us home, with the wide receivers. As always, we'll also be zoning in on 3 tight ends you need to be aware of, whether they're surging at the right time or screaming stay away before locking into your lineups. As you know, week 1 of the fantasy playoffs, no more buys, thank God. So all your lineups should be available to you, barring any injuries. So let's dive head first. Raj, what do you got on the QB front this week?
Yes, thanks, Knack. So to start, QBs I love, I have Brock Purdy versus the Titans and Marcus Mariota versus the Giants. Mariota, as Chris Collinsworth said. So Brock Purdy, QB9 versus the Titans, who've allowed the 27 points per game to QBs over the last 3 weeks. So that Titans defense, 2 touchdowns allowed versus Trevor Lawrence, 2 touchdowns allowed versus Sam Darnold, 4 touchdowns recently versus Shedeur Sanders. So they've been allowing a lot of points to quarterbacks lately. So Brock Purdy should have his full complement of guys after a much-needed bye. Jauan Jennings, George Kittle, Ricky Purcell, and of course, Christian McCaffrey. I think he's due for a bounce-back game, and I think he's a locked-in starter. I like him over the likes of Jackson Dart, Bo Nix, even Jacoby Brissett, and even Justin Herbert, which we will talk about after. And then the aforementioned Marcus Mariota, who's been a top 13 quarterback in his last 3 starts, 2 touchdowns versus the Broncos and 55 rushing yards. He's actually had games of 5, 4, and 10 carry games over the past 3 starts. Plus, the Giants are allowing the second most fantasy points to QBs this season. Mac Jones, Caleb Williams, Jared Goff, and Drake May all had 2 or more touchdowns over the last 5 games against the G-Men defense. So please start Marcus Mariota. Please, Commanders, just sit Jaden Daniels. There's nothing left in your season. I don't want to see him get injured again. And I would start Mariota over the likes of Caleb Williams against the Cleveland Browns and Tyler Show as well. A few honorable mentions. Trevor Lawrence versus the Jets. He's been on a roll. Sam Darnold versus Indianapolis. Their defense has been quite the sieve lately. CJ Stroud versus the Cardinals is a difficult one. It's a good matchup, but it just feels like the Texans defense, when they have the Texans offense, when they have the defense they have, they're looking maybe to play a little more conservative. Stafford just had 3 touchdowns versus that Texans, against that Cardinals defense, but again, the Texans offense isn't as trustworthy. And I also do like Aaron Rodgers versus Miami. In terms of QBs, I hate Jacoby Brissett, QB 18 versus the Texans, and Justin Herbert, QB 20 at Kansas City. So in terms of Brissett, he's been very reliable, but the Texans are the number 1 overall defense. Their secondary, linebackers, and front are all elite. We saw what they did to Josh Allen. He had 2 interceptions and no touchdowns. And just recently, Patrick Mahomes had 3 interceptions and no touchdowns. Brissett is an absolute sit this week. And then if we move to Justin Herbert at QB 20 against at Kansas City, Herbert has gone actually 4 straight games under 15 fantasy points per game. Very gutsy effort a few days ago against the Eagles, 10 carries, 66 yards. But the Chargers' offense looks awful, whether it's their offensive line, the pass catchers are not in sync, and Herbert was sacked 7 times and really couldn't do much against the Eagles secondary. So for me, he's a guy I would probably have to sit as well. Despite the fact that I mentioned Caleb Williams, as a potential player that I would prefer some of the loves, I do like Caleb Williams more than Justin Herbert. Aaron Rodgers as well as someone I'd start over Herbert. Even Bryce Young, another one in those kind of iffy zones where he has a good game, he has a bad game. The Saints defense has been quite good. They held Baker Mayfield to 12 points last week. One more honorable mention I do want to talk about, and I think it's worth noting, Jalen Hurts. And I'm curious what you guys think. Is he a must bench now? I just looked at his start rate on Yahoo last week, 85% start rate. But I have to think some folks are going to be hate benching him. Last 5 games, 12 points, 14 points, 31 points versus Dallas, 17 points, and 4 points. He literally lost people probably millions of dollars combined, considering his performance on Monday night. The offense looks awful. And the Raiders are middle of the pack versus QBs, but they run the 4th most zone defense this season, and we know how bad Hurts is against that. So I'm curious to think what you guys think in terms of Hurts. Is he a bench, or would you ride him again?
You just hard to trust in like it's playoff time now, right? Like again, there's a lot. I feel like there's enough QBs on the board where if you have 2, your likely backup is pretty, should be interesting. Like even if you have like a Sam Darnold or something somewhere on the bench, or I think even a Trevor Lawrence, like if you have him I think you have to really take ask yourself, like I think it might be time. I think it might be time to bench him. Ever since he started throwing the ball, since AJ Brown has been crying for the ball. Well, AJ Brown has got his targets, he's got his yards, but they've lost those games. So except for the one. Actually, no, they did even lose to Dallas. So they've been losing all of these games where AJ Brown is catching and making plays, and they just got away from the run game. And I think Dan Orlovsky said it best today on the McAfee show. They run too much out of the shotgun. There's just way too much shotgun. They've got to go in the under center. And I don't know. I think Jalen Hurts for me is definitely not a guy I would trust.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust him either. But then again, at this point of the fantasy football season, you have him and you're in the playoffs, and you might not necessarily have a better option to start. Listen, I don't have Jalen Hurts on my team right now in any of my teams. He would be a much better quarterback than most of the quarterbacks that I have, and that's not saying a lot, quite frankly, because he's been a very good quarterback throughout the season. He's had a bit of a spell right now. You hope that against Las Vegas, it's a good get right game, because Week 16 is against Washington. That's a great matchup. Week 17 versus Buffalo, that's one where I would actually have a conversation about sitting, because that's also in Buffalo as well. We don't know what the weather's going to be like in 2 weeks from now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's snowing or if there's sleet or if there's, conditions that are not really conducive to Jalen Hurts throwing the ball, which actually might even work in his favor, because then he's going to rush a little bit more and play less out of the shotgun.
It's the thing. He doesn't run. He doesn't even run anymore. He can't throw out of the run. Yeah. He doesn't run anymore. He looks slow. His arm talent looks awful. And
can we just say he's not a good quarterback?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's another. I didn't want to bring it up here. I think that's more of an off-season
quarterback. Real life quarterback. Like, he's not. And like, the guy won the Super Bowl. Fantastic. He does well for the team.
Playoff run, amazing. Right? And that's what's crazy to think. But he also had Saquon firing on all cylinders.
Exactly.
So
and the offensive line was running very well. They need Lane Johnson back. That's the big deal for them too. Sure. You can see how much this team's success is predicated on the health and performance of the offensive line. And
they even stopped pushing.
I've noticed that.
Notice how much there's not a lot of it, because some of these guys are out and they just don't trust the current guys to do it.
I think the last thing I'd say on it is I feel like Hurts is a must start in 2 QB, and I think to Mac's point, in 1 QB, like I had a league where I'm not in the playoffs, but I have Jalen Hurts and Matthew Stafford. I would 100% start Matthew Stafford over Jalen.
Without a question.
But 2 QB, I think like he's a must start.
For sure. 2 QB, it's not there's no brainer there.
For sure.
Thank you for the QBs, Raj. Keep things rolling here now, Fab, with the running backs you love and hate this week.
Yeah, here we go. We got running backs, baby. So at this point of the season, I don't think I have to say it. You start your studs. You don't get cute. Matchup be damned. So I'm going to focus on those fringe RBs that had that flex appeal that you should consider or should not consider. So if my loves this week, I have Aaron Jones Jr. versus Dallas and Chris Rodriguez Jr. versus the New York Jets. I just realized both of them have a junior in their name. I didn't even do that on purpose. So I got 2 juniors. The seniors are going to watch their kids play. So Aaron Jones Jr. at Dallas. So Fantasy Pros has Aaron Jones ranked as RB27, but it's tough to ignore this matchup versus Dallas, who are giving up the 5th most fantasy points to running backs. Jones went without a catch and only 1 target versus Washington last week. But that was a very game script dependent game where Minnesota got up big and early. So I don't think it's going to be the case this week. I love Jones as a sneaky PPR flex play. Dallas has good run defense, especially in the last few weeks, ever since they made that trade for Quinnen Williams. But they do give up a ton of points to pass catching running backs. So on average, 6.5 targets per game, 5.5 receptions per game, and 48 receiving yards per game, all top 5. So I would actually start Aaron Jones in a flex play confidently over guys like Bam Knight, Tony Pollard, both Chicago RBs who have a tough matchup this week.
Whoa.
That's
whoa.
That's where it stops for you, both Chicago RBs? Sure.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Chicago, right? We're talking about Chicago? Yeah. Swift has been on a tear, don't get me wrong, but
they both have. They've both been running solid.
And against the Green Bay, like they still look pretty good against the Green Bay defense.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was good.
So you guys are not going to like my next one that I have. I would even consider starting over Omarion Hampton versus Kansas City.
But you're not concerned about 45% snap share and the fact that he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 10?
Like I said, sneaky PPR play.
Yeah. I find he's hard to trust. I find he's really like playoff time. Like I get it. I find he's like hard to trust just because of how much he splits with like 37% snap share, 45% snap share last 2 weeks for Jones, Aaron Jones Sr. by the way, not Junior.
It's senior. I apologize, sir.
Yes.
Apologize to him. Apologize to
Oh, I
whoever
was
it
saying, sir. I meant him. I wasn't referring to you.
is. Just I don't know that backfield, that offense. I get it with the defense though, like Dallas.
Listen, but he is the starter. We can agree on that because when he plays, he plays.
Yeah.
When he's healthy, he plays. You know, and he has very good usage in that offense. What we're looking at over here. So yeah, 44% snap share versus Jordan Mason's 30% snap share. Fine, that was last week. 50% of the rushing attempts versus 39% of the rushing attempts. Fine. So again, on top of that too, 34% of routes versus 14. If we're getting into statistics, right? Targets per route run, 33%. 13% of the targets. The only knock that I'll give on Aaron Jones, which is not a reason why I would be starting him again, it's the goal line work. Obviously, that goes to Jordan Mason. He is the bigger back, right?
He's
But we're
liable
talking.
to literally just get injured like at any moment and spontaneously combust.
Listen, I still like the matchup this week versus Dallas. And at RB27, there is value there. I got spicy, guys. Jesus, look at this.
Well,
huh?
It's good. It's about
I
time.
like it.
It's about time.
I like
Let's
it.
wake up.
I
Let's
like
go.
But as far as usage is concerned, he's getting the most amount of usage in that backfield, and that's not even close. The only time he doesn't get usage is when he's injured. And then it goes to Jordan Mason.
Which is like 1/3 of the time it can happen.
I'm not saying that he is a model of health consistency in the NFL. If anything, that is the opposite of what Aaron Jones Sr. is. And we've all said that every single year. But what else have we always said? When he plays well. When he plays well. He's good, period. He has a good matchup against Dallas. Sue me. I like the matchup play and a flex play. Moving on to Chris Rodriguez Jr. My goodness. Also versus a very good matchup at New York Giants. So another fringe flex play with an upside matchup. Rodriguez has quietly taken over the lead back role in Washington and faces the Giants this week. They give up the most rushing yards to opposing running backs and the second most fantasy points. An interesting stat in neutral game scripts, which is likely the case this week as most of the offenses are dumpster fires. Rodriguez is handling about 65% of this early down work and 100% of the goal line carries. So I think he's a very good bet to outperform his RB28 ranking in a plus matchup. And I like him over the same guys I just mentioned. Definitely over Bam Knight, definitely over Tony Pollard, even over the Chicago running backs. Like, come at me. Not a fan of their matchup. Not a fan of Cleveland's matchup right now.
Yeah, this one I like better for sure.
Okay.
And Cleveland can be ran on, which Tony Pollard did do last week.
That was one exemption, one example.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting them to give up 26 fantasy points to every single running back every single week like they did with Tony Pollard.
So are you starting Chris Rodriguez Jr. this week?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Because, yes, he's on my team, and I know you're looking at my team, because I'm actually facing... Ladies and gentlemen, just to give you a bit of a context, because Nak's going to be throwing some passive-aggressive shots throughout the entire episode here. Nak and I are facing each other in the Bush League Huddle, where I was unexpectedly allowed to get into the playoffs, and I apologize for my opponent last week. I'm just as surprised as everybody else is, quite frankly, because not only did I get into the playoffs, but I actually finished 5th, which is even more of a shock. Anyways, so Nak is looking at my team right now. He's deciding who I'm going to be starting, and I'm doing the same thing with his team. Quite frankly, let's be honest. Now you gotta show your opponent some respect.
Snow
So yeah,
in the
Nak, I don't know if I'm
forecast.
starting Chris Rodriguez yet. I'm thinking about it though. I'm thinking about it long and hard.
Snow in the forecast in New York.
It's more of a running game then. It's perfect.
Perfect. A lot of fumbles.
Right up Chris Rodriguez's alley, especially when it's in neutral game script where he takes about 65% of the early down work.
Hopefully the MetLife turf is
Hey, but speaking of which, did you guys hear about that news though that came out I think in 2027 or 28? All NFL fields have to meet specific standards and they have to have their field or their turf or whatever by particular vendors that are only approved by the NFL.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, Can they just burn MetLife down too? Like just redo that stadium. Like it's just
I mean, it's
just
a
like
new
ugly.
stadium, but like it's time
So
though.
it's
At the same
ugly.
time, it
It's already
wasn't.
ugly. It's already
The problem. It
outdated.
was like it was the first new stadium that came out right before all the big new technological advanced stadiums came out, and it's like now it just looks like
It's a
it doesn't
carbon
look it
copy of
doesn't look
Giant
special.
Stadium.
It's
it's
what's
Yeah,
what?
it
it's
is.
a carbon copy of Giant Stadium.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's not nothing to behold. Anyways, I have a few honorable mentions who have also plus matchups that you should consider for a flex play as well. So the New York Giants running backs, they go up against Washington, like I mentioned. Tyron Tracy seems like he's going to be healthy for this week. So just keep an eye out. I would definitely start him over Devin Singletary. But Devin Singletary did have a very good game in week 13. So also keep in mind as well. Both Carolina RBs, they both seem to be eating right now, even though it's a full timeshare. I think Chuba Hubbard actually kind of came out and said, you know what, hold my beer. This is still my running back room. And you got to give props to that too. But both of them have a very nice matchup. And uh, Devin Neal, the New Orleans running back, who goes up against Carolina as well. So something to look into as well. Those are guys that I'm also looking at too that I think you should be considering rostering and starting if you have the chance. So those are
Hubbard
my.
RB. Sorry, Hubbard RB 32, which is surprisingly quite low
It
for this.
is. It is,
It's
and
full timeshare over there. It's really
it
like I
has
think
to
they're
be.
going 50-50, and it's
Yeah,
good. It's I think they're putting him there because it's like, is he the one who's going to score the touchdown? Is
yeah.
Dowdle to be the one who scored a touchdown?
The recipe for Bryce Young is like 20 to 25 throws per game and just run the damn ball all the time. I think that's how they
I agree.
succeed.
I fully agree. So now I'll move on to my hates for the week. So I have Omarion Hampton at Kansas City, and I have Kenneth Walker III versus Indianapolis. So Hampton actually looked really good in his first game back from a long IR stint, but he faced a relatively soft Philadelphia D versus now he gets a very tough Kansas City run D that give up the 6 least fantasy points to running backs. And on the fact that he's going to be splitting carries with Vidal, which might be a full blown committee. Vidal has supposedly been better in pass pro too, and you saw that last week versus Philly. And he also got about 100% of the goal line carries as well. So that concerns me that the usage won't be there already versus a very tough D. He's ranked as RB24, but I'm fading him as nothing more than a flex play. And I would consider starting guys like Rico Dowdle, Rudy Marks, who has a good matchup versus Arizona, Ashton Genty, and Devin Neal over him as well.
I don't
Tough
know.
matchup, tough sledding for Omarion
He looked
Hampton.
he looked good, and I think the reason why obviously the usage was low was first game back, so they're trying to kind of
For
I think
sure.
they wanted to ease him into it, but he looked solid when he did run the ball.
He did. And that's why like I want to preface that he did look very good in his first game. But it was against a pretty generous run D versus Philly. And Vidal is there to stay. Like he's like Harbaugh went on record. He's like, we got to get this guy more touches, right? And he also better in pass pro. And there's one thing that we do know, it's if you're good in pass pro, you're there on third downs, and you get just as much work as a starting running back would get. It's a bit of a concern for me in that sense. Kenneth Walker III. So after 3 straight games of 10 plus fantasy points, KW3 put up a dud last week versus Atlanta. And Indianapolis are a pretty good run D, giving up 12 leads fantasy points to running backs. And I see Seattle leaning a lot more on the pass than the run this week, which I think limits KW3's opportunities in an already split backfield. As RB23 in a do or die matchup, I don't know if you do you want to be in this position where you're looking for a safe floor, or do you want to swing for the fences in a better matchup? So I go the latter in a flex play, and the guys that I mentioned before as my loves and my honorable mentions. That's why Kenneth Walker for me as RB23, I'm fading him a little bit this week. I really wouldn't be surprised if Seattle gets up and just they're just passing the entire time because Indianapolis don't have much of a pass defense anymore.
I think they might
And I
run a
also
lot just because. Sorry to cut you off, just because they might have the ball quite a lot with Indy's QB situation right now. That offense is not going to be humming like we're used to seeing. So I think Seattle may have a few more opportunities to possess the ball.
very true. I don't disagree with that, but their run defense is pretty good. Their run defense is actually nothing to nothing to frown at, right? The run defense is actually pretty decent, And again, split backfield. These are kind of scenarios where it's like you really want to be able to get guys that actually have a higher ceiling this week. Kenneth Walker III, 3 straight games, 10+ fantasy points. It's good. It's good. He didn't put up a great game last week versus Atlanta. Fine, it's one game. But again, you want to be able to swing for the fences a little bit. And I do like guys that I mentioned before that actually have that ceiling that can be popped versus Kenneth Walker.
Agreed.
Walker used to be the ceiling guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like the
he
big
was.
runs, and
Last
this
year
year
Yeah.
was
it's
really
all
good.
floor. It's they've kind of canceled themselves out, Charbonnet and Walker this year.
Yeah, it's one of the more frustrating backfields to have invested in this year.
Yeah,
And I have invested in it in one of my leagues, not because I wanted to, because like you're stuck, you're drafting, and it's like I need a warm body to start. Games where he's really good, games where he's very average, and there's a lot of games where he's just a jag, as Steve Smith would say. I have some honorable mentions as well. So the LA Rams running backs, both of them, actually, as you're starting Kyron Williams, and I know Blake Corum went off last week in limited amount of work. The matchup though is really not one that I'm excited about versus Detroit, who have actually had a pretty good run defense. So just be wary of that. I wouldn't be opposed if you tell me you want to put Corum in your flex play. I understand it. I get it. They've been splitting carries pretty consistently because they've also McVay went on record that they want to keep Kyron Williams really fresh for the playoffs. Like they know that they don't need them. They don't need him for the next 3 games. They need him for the ones that matter after this one, right? Or sorry, the next 4 games. So that's just exercise caution in that sense. And David Montgomery. Also versus the Rams. Rams is a good run defense, and it's been the Gibbs show as of late. And
yeah,
David Montgomery has really turned into an afterthought. It's really not Sonic and Knuckles anymore or whatever it was. Like it's just Sonic, and that's it.
yeah. We had said he might be a good buy low candidate because of maybe that one game he was used kind of differently with Dan Campbell taking over play calling, and it just hasn't
They
transpired.
still split series, which is crazy to
Yeah,
think. It's just Gibbs has been obviously far and away the more efficient one out of the two, right?
I feel like
Yeah,
he's got to
far
fall
and
into
away.
the end zone. I'm curious, Fab, if Achan can go, or even if he can't go, what do you think of Jalen Wright?
I like him. He looked really good, and Pittsburgh's not a bad matchup. Like he definitely slots into an RB2, mid-range RB2 for me, like for sure. Like he looked really good last week, and but I think he's gonna go. Like I was reading some news updates about him about HN even after the game. Like they could have brought him back in if they wanted to, but I think McCarthy wanted to play it safe. So
So
and
in 4 games without Derek Harmon in the middle of that defense, the Steelers have allowed 184 yards rushing,
Oof.
250 yards rushing. To Seattle back in week 2, it was like 117. And then the first game of the year where he missed, it was against the Jets, and he allowed 177 yards. So that could be one to watch for Jalen Wright. If Harmon can't go this week, I would definitely fire him up because that defense is getting gashed on the ground.
he's your rookie, huh? That you guys drafted.
Yeah, the first round pick.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
Yeah, he just missed 4 games already this year. Sucks.
And that's it. Those are my loves and hates. Best of luck, everyone, in your first week of the fantasy football playoffs. Listen, come at me on the comments if I made some bad calls, but last week I went 4-1, so just don't forget.
Mic drop.
There it is.
Thank you, Fab, for the running backs. I'll keep this party moving with the wide receivers. So first, couple wide receivers I love this week is going to be Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver 27 versus the Falcons, and Jauan Jennings, wide receiver 23 versus the Titans. So start off with Mr. Egbuka. He started off fire, like super hot, and he was running away with offensive rookie of the year honors. But he was the fantasy stud, and he was in your lineups, and everyone was waving, oh, I got him in the 9th round, and everyone was freaking out. But over the last 8 games, he's finished in single digits 7 times and has only found the end zone once in that span. Also, while seeing still an average target share of 9 per game. So Well, here comes the Atlanta defense to save the day. They have allowed on average 42.85 points to wide receivers over the last 4 games. So I expect Egbuka to eat in week 15. And I think Baker's due for a bounce back game as well.
He's really due. Baker, I know he's injured, but he has not played well.
No,
Even pre-injury, it's not been last year's Baker.
Tampa's been in a little bit of a slump, man.
Yeah. Are you
Yeah.
concerned about Jalen McMillan potentially coming back?
No, I don't think so. He's still getting
No.
his targets. Godwin came back and he's still getting the same amount of targets. I think he saw 10 targets last week.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and he also dropped a surefire touchdown pretty much to win the game
Oh
against
yes.
the
Yeah.
Saints as well. So his numbers could have been much better. But Atlanta has just been giving up points like they're going out of style to wide receivers lately.
Egbuka has been averaging like 32% target share in since week 8. Something's got
Yeah.
to give.
Yeah.
Something's got to give,
This is,
and
this
that's
is, I think this is the week.
yeah.
This is the week. I also like Jauan Jennings. Like I said, wide receiver 23 versus the Titans. So he's hot right now, scoring a TD in 4 of his last 5 games, and he's clearly operating as the far and away WR1 on the team. Even with Purcell back, it's not hampered his target production. And fresh off a bye, he gets a Titans defense that's giving up an average of 32 points a game to the wide receiver position over the last 4 weeks, and 25 points per game to opposing teams' WR1. So I think Jennings could push for WR1 numbers this week. And I actually like both of these guys better than Chris Godwin, DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman Jr., and even Courtland Sutton.
Yeah, Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be a fade for the rest of the season, unfortunately. That's
Yeah, I think that
All
whole
of those
Colts
guys.
yeah,
offense.
all of them really. Like
And
the
now
only
they're going to
startable
stack
player is Jonathan Taylor on that team, quite frankly.
and now
Mm.
he's probably going to see some stack boxes as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got to really temper expectations, and it's a tough matchup too this weekend versus Seattle, as I'm sure you're well aware, Nak.
Yes. I'm very well aware.
But
Honorable mention I have.
sorry, Nak, just to go on, like, sorry to interrupt you. San Francisco got a bye at a very opportunistic time, if you
Oh
think
my
about it,
god.
eh? Like
Yeah.
they're 9-4. You would assume that they're completely healthy and they can make a serious run. Right now they're I
That
think in
division's
6th spot,
bonkers.
so they can go bonkers. Yeah, they can go bonkers around the season, and it's just like I wouldn't be surprised if they make a very late push. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually get all the way to the NFC Championship, quite frankly, because that team can be firing on all cylinders. Getting a bye this late and being healthy at the right time, like kudos to them.
Yep. And my honorable mentions were Stefan Diggs actually versus Buffalo and Khalil
Oh,
Shakir at New England. I think there's going to be some points scored in this matchup,
interesting.
and I think Shakir is going to have one of those PPR games that everyone loves to see. So keep an eye on both of those wide receivers as well. The wide receivers I'm fading this week, where we have Michael Wilson, wide receiver 11 at the Texans, and Christian Watson, WR29 at the Broncos. So first, Michael Wilson, he has been an absolute dog in 3 of the last 4 games. If you take out, obviously, week 13, he's averaging 16 targets, 12 receptions, and 148 yards per game. Just an absolute animal. And all that hype to find out he's running into a buzzsaw in week 15 as the Cardinals go into Houston to face a Texans team that are giving up under 20 points a game to the wide receiver position. Rice, Worthy, and Brown finished with a combined 20.4 points last week with Patrick Mahomes as their QB. So this is going to be a position where definitely going to be hard to bench Wilson, especially with the target share that he is commanding, and especially if Harrison again can't go. Hard to bench, but I do like Tetroya, McMillan. I like McLaurin, even like Wandell Robinson, and maybe even Chris Olave over him this week, just with better matchups on paper.
Yeah, definitely Chris Olave. That guy's been the model of consistency since the beginning of the season.
This one's risky, I find, because a lot of it has come at garbage time, and you would expect the Cardinals to be in garbage time here.
For sure. This is
It's a risk.
it's
It's a
tough.
really
Like just
risky one. I think.
the matchup is just so difficult to say. Like I don't see Brissett carving the Houston D even in garbage time, right? I can't see a world where that happen. But I don't know how you bench this guy. He's just been an absolute stud. I'm just fading him over
Yeah.
these few players here that I mentioned. Then I have also Christian Watson, WR29 at the Broncos. So another not so great matchup on paper. He has silenced many doubters, though, since coming back from a torn ACL. Over the past 4 weeks, Watson has 17 receptions, 264 yards, 5 TDs, while averaging 18 fantasy points per game. He does, like I mentioned, get a really tough matchup in Denver versus a Broncos D that is rested, coming off their bye, and can consistently allow single-digit points to the wide receiver position. And they have only allowed 5 total touchdowns on the season. And as we know, Watson is that touchdown machine lately. So I think I prefer his counterpart there, Cortland Sutton, maybe even DJ Moore, and as mentioned above, Emeka Egbuka over Christian Watson.
Yeah, you have to assume he's going to get the PS2 treatment the entire game.
Just tough
my
matchup.
God.
I feel.
Yeah.
It's going to be. It's in Denver too. I just really don't like this matchup. And if you do have other options, I would even consider keeping him on the bench. But he's a risky flex play, I would say, for me this week.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this feels more like a Jaden Reed game, honestly. I feel like he's going to get a lot more usage than that gadget player across. Already last week was his first game back from IR after he broke his collarbone and everything else in his body. He already got like 4 receptions and 4 targets and 2 carries. So I wouldn't be surprised if they see that Christian Watson's a little bit more unavailable. Just sort of take what the defense gives you, and it might be a bigger Jaden Reed game. It might be a bigger Josh Jacobs game.
Right. And just some honorable mentions quickly. Michael Pittman, obviously we spoke about him, wide receiver 27. Do not like his matchup or the QB position. And I'm curious to see, I think we spoke about this a little bit in the chat, but what do you do with Justin Jefferson at Dallas?
Oh my God.
Is this a guy? Are we putting him in there? It's Dallas. I know they've been playing better of late. Great matchup. But what do we do with Justin Jefferson?
You put him in and you pray to God. That's what you do. You have no choice.
You can't bench him. I know.
You cannot bench Justin Jefferson. And listen, and I'm saying this, and he put up 3 points against Washington last week. Like it's
wide receiver 20.
Yeah, I know.
To me, he's more of a bench than Michael Wilson. I'd rather bench him over. I would not bench either, but I would rather, if I had to bench someone, I would bench
I'll definitely
Justin Jefferson over.
Yeah, that's a good argument.
I definitely will agree with you.
Yeah,
I'll agree with you there, just because I don't know. At least Brissett is throwing the ball right. McCarthy has not looked good.
They simplified the offense for McCarthy last week, so you hope like Jordan Addison was able to get going a little bit, but maybe that just might be the fact that JJ gets double teamed. But yeah. I couldn't live with myself if I benched Justin Jefferson and then he went off in the playoffs.
It's impossible.
Zero.
It's impossible. It's like, remember when we were talking about Derrick Henry early on in the year?
Yep.
How do you bench Derrick Henry? He comes back with 25-point performance, and then you want to jump off a cliff. So that will do it for the wide receivers. Raj, why don't you quickly give us a tight end you love or hate this week?
Yes, I love me some Harold Fannin Jr. at Chicago. Just came off an 11-target, 8-catch, 114-yard game with a touchdown. He's been developing some nice chemistry with Mr. Shadur Sanders. The Bears are middle of the pack against tight ends, but back-to-back games with touchdowns, and he's easily been their best pass catcher this season, and it looks like he really has good chemistry with Shadur Sanders. So I like Harold Fannin Jr. this week.
Yeah, those rookie quarterbacks, they always go after their tight ends right after that safety blanket, it's clearly not working out with Jerry Jeudy. So I like this call a lot.
And Njoku's pretty much an afterthought now in this offense.
Yes.
Yeah. Fannin looks much better. Fab, what about you? Love or hate on a tight end this week?
I got Triple H, baby. I got a hate on Hunter Henry. versus Buffalo. So Henry's been a reliable tight end this season, but he's also proven to be pretty up and down. And this week he gets to face Buffalo, surrendering the least amount of points to fancy points to tight ends, and that's including the Mike Gesicki going off last week that he had. So, but historically, also Henry hasn't done a whole lot. Hasn't done a whole lot of damage versus Buffalo. He averages about under 3 catches, 30 yards per game, and just has 1 touchdown across 9 meetings. So he's a straight sit for me. There's definitely rather put in Harold Fannin Jr. and a bunch of other guys. Like I'm sure Knack, I think you have a love. I don't even know who that is, but I'd much rather start him over Hunter Henry. So he's a straight sit for me this week.
Yeah, I can never trust him. I can never find I can't find a way to put him in my lineup because he either gets 16 to 20 points or he gets 4.
He's not even matchup dependent. That's the worst part.
No.
Yeah, exactly. He's great against really tough matchups. Yeah.
And he's had good games against tough matchups. Yeah. I mean, this one is a tough matchup, so I know I might be putting my foot in my mouth over here, but his history does say that he doesn't play well against Buffalo. But he has very poor games versus nice matchups. So it's been frustrating. Yeah, that's why I'm benching Triple H.
He's the tight end Devonta Smith. Basically.
He is. So watch him go off this week.
That's pretty good comparison.
When I made a call on Devonta Smith.
Pretty good comparison.
Didn't go well.
Yes, finally for me, I do have a love this week. It's going to be Theo Johnson, tight end 13 versus the Commanders. So with the return of Mr. Jackson Dart, Johnson saw 8 targets in Week 13. And although his stat line wasn't great, he gets an excellent matchup in Week 13. Over the past 5 weeks, the Commanders have given up 5 TDs to tight ends, including 3 last week. And they average an average of 17 points per game to the tight end position. So I would fire him up with great confidence. And I definitely like him over the likes of Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, who's still being ranked in the top 10, by the way, and Travis Kelce as well.
Oh my God, Kelce!
Have you seen Kyle Pitts' last 2 games?
Have they been solid?
Very good. 15 points and 12 points PPR. No touchdowns, but he gets receptions and he gets yards.
Kirk
Cousins, exactly. It's because of Kirk Cousins. Yeah,
Kirk Cousins. I still like Theo Johnson better than him this week.
Yeah, no, Theo Johnson.
I think we're going to see a lot of points in that matchup. I think it's going to be a sloppy type of game, and
it's going to be very sloppy. That's for sure.
There's going to be points galore in that game. I feel.
And I really hope that Jaden Daniels plays, not because he's on my fantasy team. I need him to play, but the last time Jackson Dart and Jaden Daniels played each other was in college, Ole Miss versus LSU, and the fireworks that came out in that game.
Wow, it was fun fact there.
Yeah, it was like 10 total passing touchdowns or something like that. Like it was a ridiculously high scoring game. So it would be nice if that happens again, in the NFL.
Yes, it would be. It would be
nice.
It's deep cut.
That will do it for our love hates and another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. Guys, whoever are in the quarterfinals, I wish you good luck, and we will see you next week. Raj, the music. Number one.
Fantasy football playoffs.
You're going down, bro.
I waited all year for this. Mac, if you don't beat me this week.
Here we go.
Seriously.
I'm just saying, like I'm playing with house money. I'm not supposed to be here. If you don't beat me this week, you better run and hide for the next 12 months.
I think I may just play Gibbs and McCaffrey. And
only them?
The rest.
Good. Do it. Knack, just be careful what you wish for, because you just
the amount of receipts you're gonna get back, Knack. Like,
oh my God.
This is how I roll. I always have confidence, and I'll never
I got nothing to lose. I got the casino says like here's 10 grand and you can just play for as much as you want. That's what you just gave me right now. I'm playing with house money. I'm having fun.
I won the points for. I buy in $60 next year. So
Knack, I don't care about winning the points for. I'm not in this for winning points for. I'm in this for winning trophies, my friend. That's the difference between me and you. I win trophies. You don't.
Lately.
Peace out.